This is the Cats Roundtable with John Catsimatidis.
Everywhere around the world, they come to America. Every time that flag's unfurled, they come to America.
Good morning, New York. This is the Cats Roundtable. John Catsimatidis here Sunday morning. One great show for you today. We have John Terrett. What's going on with the markets? Christine Hanlon, New Jersey. A lot of migrants voting, and she's going to try to expose it and tell us what the truth is. Dr. Mason Primsler telling us about the new things going around with Legionnaire's disease. Steve Cates on what's going on up in the skies. Judge Richard Weinberg discussing the fact they want to freeze rents. Hank Scheinkoff, what's going on with the Democratic Party. Jerry Kremer, he was the Ways and Means chairman at the Assembly. Governor David Paterson, and bicycle lanes and motorcycles. We have this attorney that started this lawsuit, Hartley Bernstein. And let's start off with Mike Stoller and what's going on in the real estate industry.
Good morning, this is Mike Stoller for the Stoller Real Estate Report. What's happening in the multifamily arena today? There's a lot of transactions taking place at different price rates, at different cap rates, and different locations. I'm very fortunate to have my friend Lev Mashevev, who is the founder and the principal of Alpha Realty, a top investment sales brokerage firm specializing in the sale of multifamily and mixed-use properties. So what's happening in the New York City multifamily market right now? How's it looking?
If I had to sum it up, I would say there's growing momentum in the market right now. It's different from, the market's kind of different from where it was, say, 18 months ago. We have transaction volume definitely increased. Manhattan alone saw a 60% increase in transactions. There are more buyers out there now. Capital that was sitting on the sidelines is back active now. We have foreign investors, they're out buying now.
Where are the foreign investors from?
Definitely, we're doing deals with a lot of these groups from Japan right now.
Are they dealing with local partners when they're doing these deals, or?
Great question. So it depends. A lot of them are buying directly, especially like the cleaner free market buildings. They're just buying it directly.
Okay, what do you mean by the cleaner free market buildings?
I mean like the gut renovated turnkey free market product. That's easy to manage. It's not so management intensive, right? They're handing the keys to a local rental broker and they're saying, just keep it leased up. Now, I am seeing them going into the rent stabilized space, or at least the hybrid product. I'm not saying they're buying a totally rent stabilized building these days, but if there's, let's say, 20% of the building is rent stabilized, they're getting comfortable around that. And for those type of deals, they're partnering up with local experienced operators and managers that have the experience managing this type of stuff.
So who's coming to you, the seller or the buyers today?
Definitely still more sellers. But you mentioned where they're buying. They're buying Manhattan. They're buying good stuff. But we're also seeing them going out to the boroughs. It's still, there's still some challenges in the market. I'm not saying it's all a rosy picture. We are definitely seeing a lot more activity, but we still have due diligence and regulatory hurdles, financing and underwriting.
Let's talk a little bit about financing and underwriting.
Sure. Rates are still stubbornly high. That still poses a challenge. So we still have that there's still that bid-ask spread between buyers and sellers, though it is narrowing, which is why we're seeing a lot more activity. But in general, you're seeing a lot more lenders in the market right now. We have anywhere from, obviously you have your agencies and your CMBS lenders, but you also have these local community banks that are coming back to the market, Dime, Customers, what else? Obviously Chase, they're actively back lending. Chase has always been lending, but again, you have the Dimes, you have the regional banks coming back into the market lending again. And, I always say that markets kind of drive the investment sales market. So it's another reason why we're seeing a lot of activity right now. But just to come back to it overall, it is a healthy market for properly priced deals.
Okay, with regard to the sentiment in the market, What happens if somebody has to make renovations and there's no money for that? How is an owner able to pass through? I mean,
great point. What's suffering the most is what these landlords are doing is they're cutting back on repairs and maintenance. Ultimately, it's hurting the tenants, right? You have this rent stabilized housing stock, which is truly housing these middle class, affordable. These are the affordable rents housing our middle class society. And I don't know. The city should really incentivize the landlords to take care of this housing stock. They're not doing that by saying no increase.
You can't pass through any
nothing.
Any
correct.
Charges.
Correct. Yeah. Nobody. That's why.
So somebody says, "Why are you even investing in this market if you can't get any?"
That's right. This is exactly why the institutional capital and the private equity groups are not buying this type of stuff. The buyers for this rent stabilized housing stock is your local owner operators. These guys, out in the boroughs. They already have a couple of thousand units, and they're picking up another, whatever it is, couple of hundred, sometimes even a couple of thousand units. We know some groups that are going to be buying a couple of thousand units in the next 2 years. But again, they're local operators. They already own thousands of units. They already have a management company. They already have systems. They already have an office in place. So they're double down on it, kind of dollar cost averaging it.
So I think you're basically optimistic on the market.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, again, I'm a broker. I'm facilitating these transactions, but yes, in general, taking a step back and looking at where we are in the cycle, I think it's a great entry point.
So where are we in the cycle to finalize?
Again, 2 separate cycles. Free market product. I think we're in that upper mid-level part of the cycle. I think there's still room to grow, especially as rent continues to grow. Rent is hitting another record high in Manhattan. Right. For the rent stabilized product, we're at the bottom of the cycle. I'm not sure how much worse it could get already. It may even get just better. I hear insurance is coming down a little bit. More underwriters now are willing to insure this product. So I feel like some costs are starting to stabilize or even come down. So we might see an improvement in this rent stabilized housing, especially if definitely the regulatory environment has to improve. But again, I feel like we're at the bottom of the cycle, so I think it's a great entry point into that type of stuff.
I'd like to thank Lev for being here, and I'll have you back in a couple of months for a different perspective.
Always love being here, Michael. Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
The Cats Roundtable.
With us today is Jerry Kremer. Jerry was the chair of the Assembly Energy Committee at one time, and he was the Ways and Means chair. Jerry, we had a big discussion at your party last Sunday how common sense Democrats have to come together and have more common sense.
Well, okay, this is the way I look at it, and thank you for giving me some airtime. But, first of all, we've got to start out with there is no such thing as a democratic socialist, okay? You're either a Democrat or you're a socialist because it's one or the other, but not the same. Number 2 is this DSA group, if you will, is trying to hijack the Democratic Party. They sense a little bit of weakness on the part of the party, and they're starting to jump in and basically say we're a small minority, but we can have great influence over you. Another thing that I've noticed is that I've never met any Democrat in my life who's a sane one, and there's a lot of them who is for defunding the police, for Medicare for all. I mean, this is just like crazy. I also think some of these young people who have been, if you will, attracted to this DSA platform, really they know nothing about socialism. They really haven't had enough government lessons to understand, what the evils of the Socialist Party are. So, as far as I'm concerned, I give this group 2 years, and once some of them are in a position to govern or give or help advice, they're going to self-destruct.
Well, especially a lot of we both have a lot of friends that are gay, and the gays are promoting the Socialist Party. And did anybody forget to tell them that in some of the areas where the socialists are from, they've been throwing gays off the roofs of those cities? And the joke that people say, this is like a chicken farm, that the chickens are pro Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah. And it is amazing that right now, because there's just so much going on in the political world, even the sane-headed people, whether Democrat or Republican, sometimes, get swayed by different factions within the party. And the answer really is that maybe I've told a couple of my friends I'm going to take a 2x4 and hit them on the side of the head if they start to tell me that the DSA has got some logic. So then the answer really is that as sound people who understand what they're doing, we have to fight these kind of groups because for them today it's a piece of it, and tomorrow they have the whole thing, and the country can't afford this direction.
Is there a movement coming about to put all the common sense Democrats together?
Yes, well, I've been really following what's been going on in a lot of parts of the country this past week, and some of the Democrats are now starting to really get strong in their opposition to the socialist candidates, and they're getting the money and they're spending it, and they're telling the world that this is not your cup of tea. These are the wrong people at the wrong time when we really need sound-headedness. So yes, I start to hear it. We sure as heck could use a lot more. But the name of the game is for people like you to ask people, to air their views about these people as to what kind of threat. And I said it before, they're trying to hijack the Democratic Party.
I agree with you. And it's just we need James Carville stopped talking to me about 2 years ago when I started telling him that. And all of a sudden, James Carville is on our side, me and yours.
Well, what took him to get to that point?
Well, I guess he had to listen to realize what was going on, and so many other Democrats, even Josh Shapiro. I mean, but he's Jewish, and I don't know where he thinks he stands.
Yeah, well, this is the problem. Some of these people, the old expression, they're out ahead of their skis. And, they start to really think that you can't get reelected without the support of these groups. And the answer is you don't have to. Just talk common sense to the public, and you don't need these fringe groups to try to control your life.
Anything else you want to tell the American people this morning?
No, the answer is be aware. Whether you're Democrat or Republican, if there's factions within your party who are trying to drive you away from common sense solutions, be prepared to fight back at them and basically say, you don't know what you're talking about. The democracy is going to win if everybody stays awake.
Thank you so much for coming on this Sunday morning, and look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Cats, love you. Thanks for calling me.
Thank you for listening to the Cats Roundtable. We'll be right back right after this break. Welcome back to the Cats Roundtable. Like every Sunday morning, Governor David Paterson. Well, Governor, what do you have in mind?
Well, on Cats and Cosby, Monday to Friday at 5 o'clock, we've been talking about the Democratic Party and where the Democratic Party is going. A very important issue to talk about because a lot of Democrats, and particularly just in the past few days, James Carville, has really started to look at the situation the way you've looked at it, John, and I guess the way I've looked at it for some time, which is that the Democratic Party is going through an insurgence. I will say this. I don't think the insurgence is quite as bad as other people do. Remember, during the Vietnam War, and there was a long time ago, they didn't have, nightly talk shows and politics shows and that kind of thing. But in 1968... Johnny Carson, that was the only good show you could watch at that hour. In 1968, Hubert Humphrey was considered an easy winner against President Nixon, but President Nixon kept up a campaign where he not only talked about Hubert Humphrey, but he talked about the party, and the next thing you know, 1969, he was sworn in as president, and again in 1973. A lot of that was that the Republicans knew how to get to the weak centers of the Democratic Party. And what I'm trying to do, and a number of others, is to try to stop that so we can be more competitive in elections. Now, one thing, John, that is shocking, I saw a Pew Research poll. I didn't believe it. and it was a Democrats their support or non-support of President Trump right now. It was 76% negative, 5% positive. Now, that might be the case if that's just the issue, President Trump, but that doesn't mean that 76% is all going to stick together unless a candidate against Trump reflects their values. And that's something to watch as time goes on. So I went and looked at some of the other polling services, and that statistic is pretty consistent. So I just think right now that we Democrats have got to start organizing quietly, not, having to be melodramatic right now, because there's still time. This is the midterms. There's a whole another 2 years before the presidential election. So what I'm saying is the house is on fire, but there is hope.
Sunday morning, what else would you like to talk about?
I think it's kind of interesting just in right here around New York that there is a gubernatorial race, and Bruce Blakeman was on the program Thursday night and did a very good accounting of himself. But I think that Kathy Hochul will win that race. And the reason I feel that way is that in New York, I think that the party preference is going to face the Democrat. And I think that had Blakeman actually moved a little more to the middle where he usually is, I think he would have had a better chance. But I'm pretty sure that Kathy Hochul will get a second term as governor.
I guess so. Whatever happens, happens in November. Now, let me ask you an additional question. The Democratic Party believes, most Democrats, that voter ID, except for the leadership of the Democratic Party, the people that actually vote saying, yes, it's fair that we should have voter ID. What do you think?
I think exactly the way you think, John. There's so many things. You can't go to different places without showing certain identification. If you get a driver's license and then you go and do something else, they want to see your driver's license. You have to do certain things in this country right now to be able to establish your citizenship and also the fact that you've been a citizen. It's not that hard for people when, to go out and register to vote. So that now you don't have to vote, but when you register to vote, you're putting yourself on the rolls. And I don't think we should be, as some people are, pretending that this is Big Brother and that this is, some George Orwellian plot against Americans. I think it's just an added protection to make sure that our elections are run properly. Now, there are some people who every time they lose an election, they claim that the election is rigged. But the reality is that 90%, 99% of the time, the elections are fair and are conducted properly. And I also think that in those situations, the real winner will win based on how many people voted for them.
Governor David Paterson. We'll talk again real soon.
Take care.
The Cats Roundtable.
Let's go to New Jersey. We have the head of the New Jersey GOP. She's the chairwoman, Christine Hanlon. And she wants to report on what the heck is going on in New Jersey. And you have illegal people voting.
It is great to be with you today. And wow, we had an unbelievable week here with our governor admitting that over 6,000 non-citizens had been registered to vote in New Jersey, and approximately 400 had voted in elections. And wow, this is something that we've been talking about for a long time. My Election Integrity Task Force has been doing an investigation. We had Mark Wayne Mullen write a letter to New Jersey saying, hey, you have maybe over 30,000 non-citizens on the voter rolls. And it's but all our suspicions were validated here. And, the governor admitted that non-citizens were on the voter rolls. And when you think about, some people might want to say, well, 400 people voting, that's no big deal. But elections come down to just a couple of votes oftentimes. And how do you say
Let me
that
ask
to
you,
those candidates?
you complained about how many people you think was on the voter rolls and how many did they admit to?
Well, because we just had a small sample indicating that there was this big problem. So we had found hundreds in the limited amount of documents that we had. And then Mark Wayne Mullen with Homeland Security did a scan and said, hey, you could have over 30,000. And then the governor came out and said, oh, well, hey, the administration knew about this and nobody said anything. And they're indicating that over 6,000, but I know that it's more than that.
Wow.
Indicate
okay,
that
so
it's not just
and I've
time
seen
period.
it's
more to come.
I talked to Claudia Tenney, the congresswoman from upstate New York, and she had won by like 28,000 votes, and then all of a sudden 28,000 votes show up from the Democratic Party, and she went to court for 9 months, and she finally won because she was tough. She finally won like by 137 votes or something like that.
Wow, that's amazing. But so you could see, elections come down to a small number of votes. And this type of issue cannot be dismissed or pushed aside. Full investigations need to happen, and policy changes need to happen. The governor's trying to say in New Jersey, oh, it's this one glitch, this one-time thing, a software glitch that during a short time period that allowed this to happen. I know that that's not the whole story. And we are pushing to expose the rest of the story and really push for policy changes. It is policies, bad policies, that lead to these election integrity issues. And this is a main focus for me. It's a main focus for the RNC and so many of our Republicans across our state and across the country. We need election integrity. Investigations need to happen and changes need to be made.
Understood. Anything else you want to tell the American people on a Sunday morning?
Hey, in New Jersey, we have a lot going on here. We're trying to hold this governor accountable. We just found out that she was using state police helicopter to go to a private party in another state. And we are calling for accountability. We need change here, and we're working hard to make sure to shine the light on a lot of these issues.
Understood. Christine Hanlon, New Jersey GOP chairwoman, thank you for coming on. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
One of the biggest Democratic strategists is Hank Shenkoff. Hank, where the heck are we? The Democratic Party is being moved in on by the Socialist Party. A lot of Democrats are starting to get very much concerned. Give us a status.
Well, they should have been concerned, frankly, John, about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago when they watched Mondami in action. This is not going to end. The only way you stop it is by kicking them out of the Democrat Party because they're not Democrats, and why should they be allowed to run on the Democratic line, number one. Number two, he's already stoking intergroup hatred, which will lead to violence. It's effectively what he told people to do the Jews in his comments about the prime minister of Israel coming to New York City for the General Assembly. It's what he's talking about when he says raise taxes in the outer boroughs of New York City, which will impact blacks, Latins, and Asians very significantly, who are trying to build a future for themselves and their children. This guy is serious. He is who he is, and anybody who thinks he's different or anybody who's like him, who runs on that party line is different, is absolutely out of their minds.
Where do we go? I mean, there's rumors around, and I'll tell you the latest rumors in case you haven't heard them, is that AOC wants to run for president, and that Mondami Zoran wants to run for the United States Senate against Chuck Schumer. What is your pulse in that situation?
I think that the Schumer issue is less significant than the presidency issue. She wants to run for president or be more of a national elected player which would be terrible for the country and would likely set us back militarily, financially, economically, and socially. She is another anti-Semite and a Jew hater. And ultimately, what societies need to remember is it always starts with the Jews but never ends with the Jews. And people need to wake up and understand that they're being told to have a common enemy that is not necessarily their own. Anybody who thinks it's different should look at other places in the world. You know, this nonsense about the Middle East. Ask the millions that have been murdered throughout the Middle East and North Africa if they tend to agree with me or not. But going backwards. So I don't think he's interested in being a senator. I think what he's interested in being is president of the United States. What he needs is to have a constitutional amendment so someone who is not born here can be the president, because the Constitution says if you're not a native born, you can't be the president. Well, he'll elect enough congressmen and senators to make that change. And then we're really off to the races, John, because he has one desire: to destroy the country, to punish it for what he thinks it did in the Middle East and throughout the world. And he is exactly his father's son. One of his father's books makes Idi Amin into a great man. I mean, what are we talking about here? Is there anybody that doesn't see what is very clear? Do they think this is going to change?
I will tell you that they better be concerned. I spoke to a lot of, I'm not going to mention names, a lot of high-up people in the Democratic Party, of mutual friends, and they all of a sudden, they're all concerned, and I wish they were more concerned last year.
Well, I warned you, and on your program I said in early 2025 that Zohran Mamdani would be the mayor of the city of New York, and people said to me that I was out of my mind. You have to look at trends. The demographics of our cities are changing. This is no longer a Western country. People don't understand what it means to sacrifice for freedom. If you talk about Normandy and Omaha Beach today, the children would have no idea what you're talking about. That younger generation that's with Zoran and the socialists have paid no price, borne no burden, never had a tough day, never put sweat on their hands, have no idea what any of this means. And they're going to do whatever they can, which is best for them. They don't care. What is best for them is to do nothing and to somehow be told that they are going to be the kings of the planet, even though they paid no price and bore no burden. And further, they stand to inherit the greatest transfer of wealth when our generation dies in the history of mankind. So that's who we're talking about. They are propelling this thing, that with others who really have no idea.
Well, for all of those people that think they're going to get all this wealth, if what's his name from California becomes president, he wants to have a national wealth tax where 70% of your wealth, instead of going to your kids, goes to, well, the government.
Well, look, the present tax system is not fair by any measure. I mean, there's the end of Reaganism, and that tax system that was changed to ensure that more wealth went to the rich and that there would be this trickle down is an absolute fraud. And we can look straight ahead and say we went from an industrialized nation to a credit economy, and it's not working because more people are being left out. So unless you make changes, this is only going to get worse. It's going to get worse, much worse.
Hank Shankoff, let's work together to make sure America is great for our kids and our grandkids to come. Thank you so much.
Well, we hope so. Please, God. Have a wonderful day, John. And to your listeners, all the best.
You are listening to the Cats Roundtable. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Cats Roundtable. With us today is Judge Richard Weinberg. He's general disclosure. He's general counsel to me at the Red Apple Group of Companies, me personally, and also has been a judge in the Supreme Court for almost 15 years. And also he was the Speaker Vallone's, right-hand person for 15 years. Or Judge, did I leave anything out?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay.
Good morning.
Now, I understand that the new mayor wants to freeze rents effective October 1st, and that city people that own buildings in the city, their water is going up, their real estate taxes are going up, their everything is going up, and they're mad as hell. Tell us about what the heck is going on.
They filed a lawsuit in state Supreme Court in Staten Island. They've said that the whole process was a sham, that the mayor packed the rent guidelines board, that they ignored crucial economic data showing the harm and the costs of the landlords. that they violated their statutory obligation to do fact-finding independently, and that the whole system used by this mayor was totally corrupt, violated statutory mandates, was unfair to tenants, ignored their own data, and that they have a very good chance, in my opinion, of setting this determination by the guideline board. By the way, he packed the guideline board. He replaced all the previous members, so 6 of the 9 were already stacked against the landlords.
Let's put it this way. Eric Adams, Mayor Eric Adams, before he left, how many board members did he put on?
He had a number of them, but they resigned or were replaced, and Mondami put his own people.
They were. I understand the way I heard it. They were almost forced to resign, or by pressure being put on them.
Right.
Is that possible?
That's possible. That's the politics of it.
Okay. How many people on that board?
9 people. Now, one of the people who was on the board was an attorney, and she got off because she said she was not going to be part of the corrupt process. She said they were ignoring their own data. They never took into consideration the cost of the landlord, that this was arbitrary, that it was capricious, and this is an Article 78 proceeding which can set this aside. So let
me ask a silly question.
Sure.
The silly question is this state court or federal court?
State Supreme Court.
So if this is state Supreme Court, but if people created fraud to take us into that situation, does that mean it may come under the U.S. attorney?
Well, that's a very interesting question, and why not look at it?
I bring up very interesting questions usually.
That's right. So the point is, if you have such corruption in the process where they're violating their mandates, and you can show real corruption in the process, why not have the U.S. attorney look at it?
What else do you want to tell the people of the city of New York that are business people? They work hard, and I guess that we're in a socialist environment, and they've been threatened that they could lose their buildings.
Well, that's the whole point, is that Mondami administration and his housing czar, this is an attempt to make it unaffordable for landlords to maintain their buildings, so they'll abandon their buildings, or if they don't abandon their buildings, they have the sham hearings he had to go after landlords saying they're bad landlords to seize their property. This is the worst kind of left-wing socialism that you can imagine. It's an attack on private property, small landlords. It's a terrible thing, and if you care about housing affordability, you need more supply, not less supply. And by the way, John, the worst landlord in the entire city of New York is New York City's Public Housing Authority. They do not have the ability or the competence at all to run housing. They should get out of the housing business, and they should allow the free market. When you have a free market, you'll have more housing, more building of housing, more maintenance of housing, and it'll be more affordable.
Judge Richard Weinberg, thank you for your wisdom, thank you for your common sense, and we'll talk again real soon.
Thank you.
The Cats Roundtable.
A lot of people in New York are angry, not only because of the motorcycles, the congestion pricing, the motorcycles. They're going 30 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour. I feel like they're trying to kill some people. With us today is Hartley Bernstein of the firm, a partner in Bernstein and Cherney. He has a lot of people he is representing on this situation in Manhattan, the Bronx, Queens. Mr. Bernstein, tell us what the heck is going on.
Well, thank you for having me today. What's going on is that the city and the Department of Transportation are accelerating building these protected bike lanes all over the city and ignoring the needs of the communities, creating tremendous congestion, stopping deliveries from getting through, and creating safety hazards for people who just want to get across the street. And with the proliferation of these e-vehicles, the e-bikes and the e-scooters and the motorbikes, people just are scared, and they feel like they are trapped on their street because they can't get anywhere. And deliveries can't get to stores, they can't get to residents, and it's impeding businesses, it's endangering individuals, and it's only getting worse. And every day there's a different story about somebody getting hit by an e-bike. A woman last week gets hit and in a coma because of it. Yesterday, somebody else collided and was injured in Central Park. It's a daily occurrence that the city seems to ignore.
Well, I mean, the city is ignoring it. Even though the police department is doing a great job, and we asked them to, they've been asked to control the speed and the direction of the bicycles, because these bicycles are going the wrong direction. You don't know if they're coming or going. You have to look both ways. And the fact is, they're not going to 15 miles an hour that they're supposed to go. They're going 20, 30, 40 miles an hour. I mean, it's become a dangerous situation trying to cross the street in New York City.
And they're not just speeding, but they're ignoring the traffic lights and the stop signs. And when you talk about the police department, one of the checks supposedly on the Department of Transportation is there's a statute that requires them to run by any plan to put in a protective bike lane and other changes in streets by a number of city agencies, the police department, the fire department, the Department of Protecting People with Disabilities. And the mayor has now proposed that the Charter Commission put a resolution on the ballot this November that eliminates that requirement. So that the Department of Transportation, if it passes, will be able to simply change every street it wants without anybody's approval.
How can they do that? I mean, this is... well, I'm very much concerned about our citizens. I'm very much concerned about our children. And I'm very much concerned about some of the things that are going on in the city. What court are you in, and what are you hoping to get?
Well, we're in the state Supreme Court in New York County, and we've already got an order to show cause to stop them from starting to change West 72nd Street. We're in federal court in Manhattan on behalf of a number of disabled people who are really obstructed from accessing rides, vehicles, and getting across the street. We're in Queens on behalf of a group in 31st Street in Astoria, where the judge originally last December issued an order telling DOT to stop trying to put these bike lanes on 31st Street. DOT has managed to wangle its way around it. They've now reconfigured their plan, and we're back in court in 31st Street to stop them from doing that. So it's a fight in all of the boroughs on behalf of communities that are just being ignored by the city, by the Department of Transportation, and by people who should care about what they need and want.
Well, thank you so much for coming on this Sunday morning, and God bless you. God bless America. May we save our city. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Cats Roundtable. We'll be right back right after this break. Welcome back to the Cats Roundtable. With us like every Sunday, Steve Cates, otherwise known as Dr. Sky. What are you going to do to tickle our minds today, Steve?
Well, John, we'll go from the ground to space and lots of good news. Happy Sunday. We begin with great news from SpaceX. Their next big Starship 13 launch will be deploying some brand new Starlink higher technology satellites. They've also got some improvements, a new launch pad to launch the most powerful rocket in the world. And, John, here's something interesting. This is the beginning of SpaceX's design on putting orbital data centers around the Earth. The controversy continues. Lots of people are getting upset on the ground because of the water usage, the electric usage. Starlink and SpaceX will be developing, as time goes on, not tomorrow, orbital data centers. And one bit of news, John, that's really in the forefront of the news. The SpaceX organization and an astronaut named Chun Wang, this is a billionaire crypto gentleman in China, he will be officially on the first Starship mission to the planet Mars. Now, this is something amazing. He'll be on a 2-year mission. He's already signed the deal. So I find that very fascinating. So Elon must be looking to prepare really soon here. Who knows when, John? But we have somebody that'll be on the 2-year mission to Mars. That's incredible.
I mean, that's hard to believe because I still think we're far away from it, and from a 2-year mission to Mars, and it's still hard to believe, Steve.
I believe you. It's all these projections, but I think we have to give SpaceX a lot of credit. But, John, here's something really mind-boggling. The Voyager 1 spacecraft that was launched back in 1977, in November, will cross a distance away from our planet, the farthest man-made object ever, 16.1 billion miles away. It's considered in the world of astronomy 1 light day away from Earth. But what's more amazing, the small radios that are on there, John, they only send out 20 watts of energy. So 20 watts of radio energy. What's that like? It's like the amount of wattage that a refrigerator light bulb has. And the 6 little computers on there have a collective amount of some 68 kilobytes. What's amazing, that spacecraft continues to send us data. What an amazing engineering marvel of days gone by.
How long is it supposed to stay alive?
John, nobody really knows. There's a nuclear core in there, and once that, of course, fades away, I would say, according to the best research I've gotten in talking and spoken with scientists, we're talking still about another 5 years, maybe more. But unfortunately, when you have a 20-watt signal coming back to the Earth, again, it takes 24 hours for you to send the spacecraft signal to it. And then it takes another 24 hours to get back. So after that, John, nobody knows. It goes into the void of space, into the unknown. Most amazing.
I met the Greek doctor that launched it in 1977, was it? I had dinner with him in Athens about 2 years ago, and he did come on my radio show, and me and you should have him on again together.
That would be an honor, John. We had John Lomberg on our program that we're doing on the weekends not too long ago. Who's he? He's the man that worked with Carl Sagan, and they created that golden record that's on there. If aliens do, or intelligence out in the universe ever finds it, it actually has, from its time in history, some of the most incredible technology, pictures of what happened here on the Earth, and all kinds of recordings, and it's so amazing. But, John, here's finally the mystery of the week. We all know we celebrated the Apollo 11 landing on the moon, but how about some trivia that people may not know? When Neil was coming down, Neil Armstrong, down the ladder, people think it was a simple release coming down the last rung. He had to jump off the last rung, and that was about a 3.5-foot drop onto the surface of the moon. But even more interesting, Buzz Aldrin, the second astronaut, John, to come out of the lunar lander, he had to be reminded by Neil Armstrong not to close Eagle's hatch. Because if he did, they had to leave it open a slight bit, but he had to be reminded, or else it could have locked him out. That is incredible. And here's another bit of information that I find fascinating. The flag on the moon that we all talked about and saw the astronauts plant there may have been purchased by a NASA employee. You ready, John? At a local Houston Sears store. That's another bit of trivia about the moon.
Now, you always see it on the moon still. Does that mean it is still?
It is, John. It fell over. Buzz Aldrin said this when they launched off the surface. They saw the flag. He saw the flag fall down. But here's really what they think has happened to it. With an intense bombardment of solar energy and powerful, flares from the sun, the flag is all washed out, they believe. We won't know until we go back. And it probably has holes in it by now, but still an amazing artifact. And one of the last bits of trivia, John, that's really strange. Buzz Aldrin admitted this. I actually talked to him a number of times about this. When he was leaving and Neil to blast off the surface of the moon, he inadvertently backed into one of the relays that were on the panel. And if you flipped it, when you're supposed to, that's when the rocket would launch. Well, he broke it by accident. So what does Buzz Aldrin do? He uses a felt tip pen before we had Sharpies. Didn't tell the ground controllers, didn't want to alarm them. They did the countdown. He took the pen and put it inside the little hole, and thank God the rocket motor worked. And, John, just about a week or so ago, that felt tip pen sold at auction, I think, for over $300,000. That's a good answer to how these astronauts came back when there could have been a whole different end story.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Sky, I enjoy listening to your show on Friday nights from midnight to 2 a.m. in the Saturday morning, and Saturday night until Sunday morning, 2 a.m., and keep doing the right things and keep teasing the people's minds.
Well, thank you, John, for the opportunity. Have a good Sunday morning, and always remember to keep your eyes to the skies. We'll see you on the air, and thank you for the opportunity.
The Cats Roundtable.
What is going on with Legionnaire's disease? What is going on with cyclosporin? With us today is Dr. Mason Pimsler. He's been working in the Bronx and with health and hospitals. Doctor, give us an update of what's going on with it.
Well, let me just put this out there. First of all, Legionnaire's is out there. It's really all around us. It really affects mostly, people don't have to be really scared of this because it affects the minority of people. It affects more the immunocompromised people. It affects people 65 and older that have comorbidities. It affects people with HIV, as I said, immunocompromised. So the general public, even if you come in contact with it, really will not get that sick. And Legionnaire's comes from 1976. There was an outbreak of severe pneumonia, because that's what Legionnaire's is. It's pneumonia. It's a bacteria. It's a bacteria that causes pneumonia. And how they get the name, the CDC, a doctor came up and discovered it because all these people, these veterans got together in Philadelphia, and they got this pneumonia from this mist. And that's what's happening in New York City. In New York City, people are getting these Legionnaire's because on these buildings, we have these old water, I'd say, towers. They're like exhaust pipes of your car, to put it in that. Everyone that has a car knows what the exhaust pipes are and what comes out of it. So on the tall buildings in Manhattan, we have these pipes that throw off these hot air that turns into mist, and it's like a water. And anyone that contacts it, you can't get it from person to person. So I want people to know that if they're around, as opposed to COVID, which is a virus, not a bacteria, COVID, you can't get it person to person. It comes from a mist. So you have to be in contact with that mist. And also, it comes from two ways, that you have internal plumbing in your apartments, and say you take a shower. That mist can cause it too. But it's going to cause it more in an immunocompromised person rather than a healthy person. Even, I'd say, a geriatric person that is healthy should probably not get it as well. So I don't think this is something like what they said with the aliens are coming, where we all have to run out and get very scared about this.
So you don't put, 4 people have died so far, 4 or 5.
They have.
I guess they were in bad health to begin with.
Yes, or they didn't get the treatment that they needed. It's treated just like you would treat a community-acquired pneumonia with antibiotics. So everyone knows what an antibiotic is that's listening. You would treat it the same way, and it would be highly treatable. The last case in New York City, and I'm going to focus this on New York City right now, the last case in New York City was July 15th. As of today, no emergency room is reporting any cases since July 15th, and not just any new case, but anyone presenting themselves with symptoms that were already infected. But you are 100% correct. People have died from it, like you just said, 4. But overall, it has been under control. And what they do is they're cleaning these towers with something called biocide, biocide, a chemical compound that sterilizes these water towers. And I got this from a source at the City of Health today. And they say it's this William Fowler, who's the press secretary, says it's very much under control now. And I have the zip codes where in New York City, if you're living in them, where it's mainly affecting the plumbing system, or where the last case of July 15th, and that's 10028, 10128, and 10075. But you can continue to drink tap water. You can bathe, you can shower, cook, use air conditioner, but you got to be cautious.
Now, this cyclosporin, where does that come from?
So there was a New York, just to focus on New York with cyclosporin, we're not considered one of the 27 states that the Taylor lettuce, that's originally it was stated that the Taylor lettuce, and you would know this more than I would, the manufacturing that does the lettuce That's where the cases were coming from. In New York, it was coming from more fruits, raspberry, produce, and now the FDA, and you picked that up right away, John, and thank you for that, is that the FDA has identified another source, which I can't find yet, and I'm going to try to track that down when we end this interview, what that could be. But I will say, like, stores like yours have been, because of the hygiene that you practice in your stores, that's a big thing with the produce. So that's why, like, some of these bodegas, you got to be very cautious on buying produce out there, people that are listening here. You got not to sell your stores, but go to D'Agostino, go to Gristedes, go to a major supermarket. Don't go to the bodegas, please, because these produce can be infected with this. And this is a very annoying disease. It's really explosive diarrhea. Your intestines become paralytic. It's not fun at all.
Thank you for the update on the cyclosporin and on the Legionnaire's disease, and let's talk more often.
Absolutely. You were a pleasure, John. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. John Terrett is with us. Well, the markets are up, markets are down, oil has gone up a lot, but you never know, it could go down a lot too. John Terrett, give us a report.
John, my analysis of the last week on Wall Street is it was a battle between earnings and the Iran conflict. So let's look at the earnings first of all. Google, pretty good, but they were overshadowed by the billions of dollars being spent on AI. Wall Street worries that Google will never see that money again, or at least not all of it. There was something in those earnings which is known as free cash flow, and it is what it sounds like. And the problem is free cash flow at Google was negative for the very first time ever. Wall Street punished Google. They were down about 7% when the news came out. Tesla, similar story, profit miss, revenue beat, but the problem again is that CapEx expenditure on AI. Tesla down 14% when the news came out. And Intel, the chip maker out of California, Thursday night, reporting the fastest growth in 15 years, up 25%. They're really riding the AI wave. Remember, the government owns about 10% of Intel these days. The shares were up 7% on the news. They settled up 4%, but then on Friday they were down 4 or 5%, showing that Intel is still a very vulnerable company. As for the markets themselves last week, John, well, they followed oil, or rather they didn't. If oil was up, they were down. If oil was down, they were up. The cryptocurrency story of the week is the Clarity Act, which is edging its way to the Senate floor. My contacts in Washington tell me there will be a vote on this cryptocurrency framework in August. They're just doing last-minute negotiations with the Democrats now, who are unhappy with what President Trump made in all that money with cryptocurrency in 2025. That is indeed the sticking point. And so the week ahead, will second quarter earnings continue with some big names, the biggest of them all, Microsoft, Meta Platforms, Amazon, and Apple. All of that in the week ahead. John.
The banks did very well last week.
They certainly did, with J.P. Morgan Chase turning in the biggest banking quarterly profit in U.S. corporate history. Remarkable.
And I have a lot of J.P. Morgan stock but if Jamie ever retired, I'm selling it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, John Terrett, for calling in, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
Thank you, John. See you next Sunday. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for being with us for the Cats Roundtable Local Edition, the #1 show on Sunday mornings in New York. Keep listening to us for the Cats Roundtable National Edition between 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock. So we'll be back to you in a few minutes after the news.